somebody else. That's what I always say.
And it's karma. You do everything over in A box, and you'll get something back in B box that has nothing to do with A. One thing I can really help people with is finding an agent in their neighborhood.
There you go.
Awesome.
Okay, appreciate that. Okay, here's our thoughts for the day. Pound for pound, an unborn child is stronger than an ox. I'm not sure how they figured that out, but that's interesting.
Wow.
And Napoleon, they have little weights in the womb there. Okay. And Napoleon
Call
Bonaparte.
that the weight womb?
Yeah, wait, there you go, in the womb. And Napoleon Bonaparte actually drew up his battle plans inside of a sandbox. I guess it was easier to make sure the enemy couldn't find it. You just erase it, the sandbox. All right, tune in next week to The Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away more free vacations for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown. We're wishing you the best of investing. So long.
Woohoo! All right.
Weight womb.
Money, man. Right on, Tim. And then you said your company specifically has how many patents on it?
Yeah, our company directly doesn't have a patent on it, but the company that we've invested in is called Graphene 3D Lab, and they've done something very phenomenal with the material. What they've done is taken this material and combined it with plastic and put it into a form that you can print out of a 3D printer. So,
wow.
As you can probably guess, you have something that, a material that is, very conductive, very strong, and also flexible. It's hard to, say, create a 2x4 out of this material and then try to make a house. No, what you do is you throw out the whole concept. Take 3D printer and you print whatever you want, exactly the shape you need it in. If you want a bumper on a car, print a bumper on a car. And without any waste, you have this end product.
The thing is, how big a printer do you need for that? Print me a house,
So we can print you a house.
Wow.
No problem, because they've already done that in the Netherlands with 3D printing. So the 3D printing model is all about, what you can program with a computer and the size of your printer. It's just like the size of any machinery. You can change the size of machinery. The computer program that controls machinery doesn't change.
This is even more technologically advanced than Star Trek.
Yeah.
I mean, it's they didn't even think about stuff like this back then.
Here, I'm spending my day talking to people about their pest inspection.
It is there, because really what you're trying to accomplish is taking material that is in one shape and converting it into a completely different shape and making it a solid. So it will eventually be a situation where you can materialize objects.
That's so weird. That what that reminds me of is, okay, did you see the movie Terminator 2? Right, with the guy with the liquid that the guy turns himself into liquid and then he turns himself back into a human.
Yeah.
They were basically
a lot of those Hollywood movies are based on some form of scientific postulation. So we really, what we look for at Lomiko is something that we think the future is going to be made of, and we think the future is going to be made with graphene-related materials. Combining this material with plastic, combining it with other hardening materials, with steel, using it as a coating, that's where we think the future is going. That's why we're invested in all of these graphene companies, and we think that we're going to keep looking for very interesting patents where we have a strategic advantage and help those companies go public.
Have you seen any downside to it? Like if it, it'll melt at a certain temperature or it'll freeze at a certain temperature?
Yeah, really the downside right now is whether there's any health effects to the creating of this particular material, whether or not the material will burn, and whether or not the application that you want to use it for. Say if you want to use it for the shell of a car, a really lightweight car, you make this material out of graphene/plastic. Well, what happens driving down the road and there's a lightning strike, and because it's so conductive, it just fries your car. So, you've got to make sure that the application's well thought out and all of the various factors are dealt with. And that's what is taking so long
Yeah, I can imagine.
to do for some of these companies. They're doing a lot of research. Now, just one fact that I've mentioned before, the 12,000 patents is one thing. Now, in Europe, they're spending 5 billion euros of research dollars on this material. In the States, we've probably spent about $3 or $4 billion, and yet no one has heard about this material.
Yeah, that's all that I can think of is that the general public, I think, has no idea about it.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing about this thinking, this is like front page news. I would think that, there would be some kind of TV show about it at 60 Minutes or something.
Well, if you ask somebody what graphene is, they'd say that's what you put in the pencil, your lead.
Yeah.
Right?
That's exactly right. I mean, graphite is pencil lead, and that's the weirdest part about this, is that it's been there all along. Graphite has been with us, and it's just a lower form of carbon as well. But you can take that same material, which is the amazing thing. We're made out of carbon. Carbon is us. This is stuff that we know very well. We've known it all of our existence.
Can you make diamonds out of it?
Ooh.
Well, no, because graphene is one form of carbon. Diamond is just another form of carbon. So with pressure, you can make it, coal into diamond. You don't have to worry about making graphene into diamond. But this is a completely separate functioning material, right? Because it has 6 carbon atoms, whereas diamond might have X amount more. And I'm not sure of the science behind that, but so it has a specific function, and I think that the most important thing to remember is the conductivity. Imagine graphene chips in computers. Imagine you can take big, huge copper wires that you used to use in your house and reduce them down to, drawing a pencil-thin connector between your light and your light switch.
Well,
Those are the kinds of things that we're thinking about.
How long do you think before we actually see it come to market?
Well, that's the other beauty of it, is that you're watching right now, and if you watch closely, it's almost like watching a flower bloom very slowly, because there are graphene light bulbs that have been brought to market. There is a graphene tennis racket, which Djokovic actually used, who was the U.S. champion. He actually endorses the head tennis racket, which is made out of graphene. So it's percolating through all of these various systems. And the interesting thing, the thing you can relate it to most is plastic. We don't even think about plastic, but in 1940, 1950, there was no such thing as plastic.
Oh, that's a good
It's
point.
true.
Yeah.
Starting to get invented, but now it's everywhere. And I think that's where graphene can be compared to, is at the advent of plastic.
Now, your company, it's not publicly traded, is it?
Well, Lomiko Metals is publicly traded. It
Okay.
trades in the OTCQX under the symbol LMRMF. But what we've decided to do is model that company as sort of an investing company that goes and looks at these.
It's like a holding company.
Yeah, it's a holding company. We also have, the other side of it is to actually locate the source material, which is high quality flake graphite. And so we've gone to Quebec in Canada and located a source, and we're trying to prove out the mine itself that has the graphite in it. Because that way you can lower your entire cost structure by knowing where you get the raw material from, and then also investing in the end products.
Wow, very cool. So, Paul, we have to cut out here now. So, if people wanted more information about this, where would they look?
Well, on our website, lomiko.com, lomiko.com, we've got a whole research section on graphene, and we have explanations and videos and everything. So, welcome to start there. But Googling the word graphene, Graphene, will amaze you. There's a lot of stuff to learn.
Great. Paul Gil from Lomiko Metals, thank you so much for joining us on the Best of Investing and giving us an update.
Thanks, Edward.
All right.
Take care.
That's good.
Fascinating.
Very, very interesting stuff. Very 21st century stuff.
Very. And it struck me, though, when he pulled it all together and said, basically, before there was plastic, and you look around, it's everywhere.
Uh-huh.
Before there was plastic, we couldn't imagine all the applications for plastic, and now we take it for granted.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a very good example. Okay, so unfortunately, I forgot when we got back from break, we were so fascinated with having Paul on. I forgot to give the trivia question and answer that when we cut out from the last break. So here, the trivia theme is classic trivia from classic films. And here was the question from the previous commercial break. Rebel Without a Cause, a classic teen film from 1955, has a dubious distinction. Only one of the top 4 credited players reached the age of 50. Who lasted the longest? And the answer was Jim Backus. Remember Thurston Howell III?
Yes.
Because both James Dean, Sal Mineo, and Natalie Wood never lived past the age of 50.
Wow.
Okay, so now we're going to cut to our second commercial break. And here's the trivia question. The star of the classic 60s detective film wanted Robert Vaughn to play opposite him. The film was about a witness protection watch that goes wrong, very wrong. Name the film. All right? First caller with the correct answer wins a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-912-1190 to answer that question. Make sure to include your name and your email address. Speak slowly. Spell out your email one letter at a time. Okay, so now we're going to cut to our hockey thoughts for the day. Gordie Howe said, all players are bilingual. They know English and profanity. And Gil Peralt, and I don't know who that is, but he said the 3 important elements of hockey are forecheck, backcheck, and paycheck. All right. Tune in next week to The Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away more free vacations for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown. We're wishing you the best of investing.
Woo! Yoo-hoo! Wow, I like it that way. I like these nice and short.
Nice and short.